Hello and welcome to another episode of BoxTrick. I'm your host, Matt Brady, known on the internet as Super Gains Bros, joined today by VaraxisGaming. How are we doing today, man?
Oh, living the dream, buddy. How are you?
Hey, I am good. Let me tell you, I am very excited to chit chat with you because I found your stream on TikTok when I think you had just hit 1,000. You're at like around 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 followers. Now you're up to almost like 9. You're approaching that 10K mark. And I when I first saw you, you were streaming Final Fantasy VII remake, and then you moved on to Final Fantasy 12 and Final Fantasy 15. Then I saw you do a little bit of Diablo, and now you're playing WoW. And one of the things I love to do is on TikTok is I love to go find people who are just like, man, maybe 1,000, 2,000 followers. And I just start checking out their stuff, and then it just kept showing your stream, on your feed, your TikTok feed, and just scrolling through, and it kept popping up. And I was like, oh man, this guy's awesome. Loving your stream. Genuinely, I watch it almost every day. Like almost every day you're on, I'm like, oh, it pops up, and I'm always just popping in to see what you're doing, playing WoW and stuff like that. And so that's a little bit what I want to talk about: some Final Fantasy, some WoW, just RPGs in general, stuff like that. What made you make that jump onto TikTok to start streaming? And you also stream on Twitch.
So I was one of those kind of people who never got into the TikTok thing. I'm like, yeah, it's dumb. It's just going to be another Vine. It's going to go away in 3 weeks. And then I finally decided to make the jump over there. I ended up learning a lot about myself on there, and all those made me realize I wanted to pick up streaming after trying it once a while back and being incredibly unsuccessful on it. Fired up, Twitch. Twitch was first, and then I got to the 1,000 followers on TikTok, got TikTok fired up. And I realized the reason I like TikTok was because people can stumble onto your stream, whereas Twitch, they have to be there looking for it unless you're like one of the big 10.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, discoverability is huge. And I think, and I think that's one of the things that's helped you, because one of the things I've noticed on TikTok in the past, I feel like past years, I feel like the algorithm for regular videos has been entirely jacked up. And I have tons of friends that have way more followers than I do, and even they have been like stagnant. Like I have been stuck at 36,000 for like a year. Like, but I don't live stream. I just do videos. And I'll post videos that hit like 100,000, 200,000, even a million.
Damn, man.
Sometimes they'll still not, you won't see that follower growth. And I've a lot of people I've talked to have been like that, and it seems like the way to do it right now is just go live. So I think you're 100% in the way of doing it. I mean, and just being like you are ultra consistent. I mean, that's one thing I really appreciate about your content is like you are, I don't think I've ever seen you miss a day.
Yeah. So. Oh, I've missed a few. I missed 2 weeks actually when I had that surgery.
Right.
And occasionally I'll miss one due to whatever reason, but I always post on my TikTok being like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna miss tonight." So
was the first thing you streamed on TikTok, was that Final Fantasy 7, or you think you did 15 first? I can't remember.
The first,
or at least
thing
that
I
did
on TikTok was 7. Yeah, I think it was 7 remake.
The 7 remake, yeah. And of course you played the original back in the day.
Oh yeah. In fact, something that I used to show a lot when I was streaming 7. Was my strategy guide that I still got floating around.
Your original strategy guide, man. That's probably worth something. I mean, I'd hold on to that. I wouldn't.
Oh yeah. I was thinking about sending it in and getting it slabbed.
Yeah, and getting it like prime. Yeah, nice. So what was your first video game console then? What was your
regular NES?
Regular NES. Mm-hmm. Did you play like original Final Fantasy, or was it just like the staples?
Oh yeah, I played some of those back then, and those were a doozy. Those were hard.
Yeah. And so have you always been an RPG guy, or?
I play whatever catches my attention. I've gone through phases of just about every kind of genre there is in gaming, up to and including text games.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Like MUDs? Like back in the day? Oh, dude. I feel like nobody I talk to anymore knows what those are.
Oh yeah, Zork, man. I played the hell out of Zork.
Oh yeah. There was a Dragon Ball MUD that I got like hardcore addicted to.
Oh, I probably would have loved that. I never saw it, but I probably would have loved that one.
Yeah, because it was so cool, because it was power. If you obviously you're familiar with Dragon Ball, so it was on power level. So the entire leveling system was just experience. Your experience essentially was your level. And so as you fight people, like your power level or your experience would level up, but that was sort of like where you were. So you didn't hit like level
rad.
5 and 10 and whatever. It was all just based on that. And yeah. I know, man. I that there was definitely a sweet spot for those games, and then now I just feel like I've
I
every
haven't seen one in years.
yeah. I go look every now and then, but I can't find any. I just can't find any that like the player base is like 2, and it's like, all right, well, I was shocked there's that many.
Yeah, right.
It's clearly like some guy who's like keeping it alive, and his like brother or something that's like, hey man, let's fire off a mud here or something. Yeah. Cool. So what did you think, having played obviously the original Final Fantasy? And I know I believe I've talked to you in your stream before. You said 8 is your favorite, and we'll get to
8 is
that.
my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So what did you think about because you haven't played Rebirth, because you don't have a
No, I
right,
have not
you're
yet.
PC player.
Yeah, I'm PC strictly. I think it has come out for PC now. I might be mistaken on that though.
Yeah, I know 16 came out. I don't
I
Rebirth
thought
might be
16 and Rebirth were on the same. I don't know. I don't know. I have
yeah.
to look.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So what did you think of Remake?
I thought it was fantastic. I really, really loved the additional layers to the storyline they put. Obviously, I loved I don't know how to call it, the dollar amount they put into it to make the
Yeah.
beautiful graphics, the beautiful cutscenes. The voice acting was top tier in it all. It I was very impressed. I was very happy that they did the original justice.
Yeah, yeah. I so the having played Rebirth, and it's just it's so much more open. Like it's a little
Mm,
more open. It's a little more open world. Feels a lot more sort of like Final Fantasy 15. So I personally like Rebirth a little bit more than I did Remake, but I kind of liked actually the linear nature of Final Fantasy 7 Remake. And I think one of the things that even I saw that was sort of the criticism. Some people either liked it that it was like linear, or some people didn't like it. But in linear games, and one of the things I noticed in this is it allows you to kind of focus on set pieces more. Like when you're running around that game, you like, and you're like climbing down ladders, you can see
mhm.
like the slums and everything, and you can kind of focus that on it a bit more. And that was something I really, really appreciated that game.
Well, and also back in the day, if you remember, the first half of regular Final Fantasy VII was pretty linear.
Yeah.
Like you don't really get to move around until you get out of Midgar.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're basic. Yeah, you're right. You're just in Midgar, and it's pretty. And then even after that, it is like you're in an open world
Yeah,
environment, but it's like, all right, I have to get to this town, or
I
yeah,
think 8 was the first time they truly did open world.
yeah. And so 8 is actually the one of the like the PS1 era into like Final Fantasy 10 and stuff like that. 8 was the one I tried it when it originally came out, and I was like, it just felt too foreign to me, because
The
I kind of got like,
junction system.
yeah, I kind of got it, but I like that I think a lot of people, I think if people who like 10 might like that, because you can kind of go off in your own, in the sphere grid, you can kind of go off in your own
Oh
direction.
yeah.
The same thing with 8. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do whatever you want with 8. That was the beauty of the junction system. You put whatever spells or summons or whatever onto whoever you wanted, and then you could amp them up like crazy depending on what spells you attach to them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I actually kind of liked the seed system too. I thought that was kind of interesting and unique, where your money just kind of rolls in. It's like a
Yep.
paycheck.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah. And
Shows your characters actually had a job instead
yeah.
of just dudes wandering around.
Yeah, just wandering around killing like random monsters and finding money. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is one of the things I really appreciate about Final Fantasy 8. And I agree with you, the open world. Like I remember that was one of the first RPGs I'd ever played, at least at that time, where you could just kind of you just go like stumble onto like random areas. You're like, oh, I can't do anything here yet. You get your little
Yeah,
car, you drive around, and
the island closest to heaven and the island closest to hell. If you accidentally there, you were toast.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Who's your squad in 8?
It was probably it's been a minute since I played it, but it was more than likely Squall, Zell, and either Quistis or Irvin.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much who I always rolled a Zell, because I thought Zell was hilarious.
I love Zell.
Yeah, just so sweet. Just such a funny character. Like he was sort of the Sid of that group from Final
Kinda.
Fantasy 7. Yeah. Okay, and then you played 9 and 10.
Oh yeah, played both 9 and 10. 9 wasn't my favorite, but it definitely brought some beautiful things to the series. It brought that really cartoony aspect that became synonymous with gaming. Like if anybody sees a black mage, it's Vivi in their head. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's the black mage now for all of eternity. It also had some very, very beautiful cutscene art styles. The storyline was basically your typical, rescue the princess kind of storyline with political intrigue, which was cool. I mean, it's what Final Fantasies are. I don't know. That one never really held me like some of the other ones are. I think I've only played through that one once.
9, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, 9 was actually, so I played 7 well, I mean, I played like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. That was the first Final Fantasy I ever played for the Super Nintendo. I actually just replayed it the other weekend because I was like, oh, I can play this game with a fast forward feature now, and it's far
Ah, there you
more
go. Yeah.
accessible. But yeah, so I played like half of 7 because I was like borrowing it from a buddy, and then I didn't touch 8 actually until after I played 9. So 9 was really kind of like the first Final Fantasy that I went out and bought, like, with birthday money and all that
Hmm.
stuff, and went and played it. And yeah, I loved Final Fantasy 9. I think maybe it was also like one of my first big, RPGs that I played, but it's also like a tribute to the series,
Yeah,
right? And then it's got
for
like
sure.
a lot of the music and all of that stuff. And apparently and they've hinted at that they are working on a Final Fantasy 9 remake. We have to wait and see.
Yeah, I would love for him to redo 7, 8, 9, and 10 because all four could really, really do so well with a glow up.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to imagine. I think 8 would benefit the most. I think Final Fantasy 8 with what they did with 7, I think it would be
Yeah,
far more appreciated. They could kind of rework the junction system a little bit to make it like a lot more
a
user
little
friendly.
more
Because the
user.
story
Yeah,
in 8 is phenomenal.
the story in 8 is one of the few times in my life where I'm like, fuck, I didn't see that coming.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it also had like the back and forth story.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's something that could be done really well. I mean, you could even if they wanted to do 8 in maybe like episodes, like not the way they're doing 7, where it's like kind of 3 big games, but even like sort of like smaller episodes or something like that, like the way they've done some of the Resident Evil games, or like chapters or something like that. That might even be. I mean, I would prefer it to be like the
Yeah, it doesn't
7.
sound like the big games, but I
Yeah,
can see it working.
yeah. I mean, like the 7 remake is like, the real way to do it. But that 8 is a little more, I think, chapter oriented
Yeah, I could
than.
see distinct cutoff points in 8 where you could easily do a transition.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk. Final Fantasy 10. Yeah. Because you played on that stream on. Well, yeah,
Yep.
you streamed
Yep.
that.
In fact, I've got some viewers who are mad at me because I never finished the final boss.
Yeah. That is
I
that.
went
I
in.
I think that's the worst part of that game.
Well, I went into Omega's dungeon and went in there to go fight him, and that's where the dopamine wore out, and I moved on to a different game. But like, all I have to do is go kill Sin. That is the last thing I
Yeah.
have left on that one. But Final Fantasy X is an absolute classic and honestly a masterpiece of what video game storytelling can be. Like that for our generation is an iconic story when it comes to the gamers, and the game still holds up. Like, it's what, 20 years later, and that game still
Yeah.
holds up very solidly as a game, as a story piece, and as visuals.
Yeah. I don't like hearing that it's 20 years old, but
Yeah, we old now.
Jeez. But yeah, so that's 10 and Metal Gear Solid 2 were the reasons I bought a PlayStation 2. That
And Metal
was
Gear was solid.
Yeah, it was solid. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, Final Fantasy 10, that was like the game I bought a PlayStation 2 for, and having voice acting. I think personally, I think 10 is the game that's probably best for newbies into the Final
Oh yeah.
Fantasy. Just because you can switch characters, you get to kind of feel the whole party. You agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Whenever people would come on to stream to ask me, what's your favorite? If you wanted to get into Final Fantasy, what would you start with? I'm like, first of all, my favorite's 8. The general favorite of the series for most people is 7, but I think the easiest game to get into and love is 10
Yeah.
because it is a great mix of the old school way of RPG thinking and what we came to know as the new school version of RPGs.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. What do you think? Did you like Blitzball or no?
I did actually. I really liked Blitzball.
Yeah, I
Now,
go ahead. Yeah.
what I was gonna say, when I started grinding it to get the end game weapon, it got a little tedious, especially because my team was essentially unbeatable at that
Yeah.
point. So it was literally just going through the motions. But It's a fun game. I could see them making like a whole Madden-esque game off of just Blitzball.
I know, man. That's what I've always said, and I don't understand why. Maybe it's because it's a Japanese company, and they're
Probably.
just like, well, I don't know, like I don't know. I've always thought that it would do. I mean, it is kind of a small market. I get that, but I don't know. They did other stuff too. They did like Dissidia. I mean, they've done like tons of Final Fantasy spinoffs. I just don't understand why Blitzball has never been one of them.
Yeah, who knows, man?
Yeah, but I agree with you. Yeah, the grinding for it. And then of course, like then at the end when you're grinding all the Ultima weapons, especially the Thunder Planes, that's
Nope. Mm-mm.
oh the Chocobo. You think that oh yeah, and then the
the,
Chocobo, Tidus's Chocobo thing was
the
like a grind too.
the Chocobo was irritating. The lightning bolts were impossible. I put it up to my stream on TikTok. I'm like, look, there's no way I'm gonna do that unless you guys do something ridiculous. One of my viewers was like, hold my beer and watch this, did the ridiculous thing. So I spent the next 2 hours trying to dodge lightning. The highest I got was 28 dodges, and I was struck by lightning 496 times.
Yeah. Don't you need I think you need 200, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never
So I was
I've
able to
obviously I've never done it because I'm like it's not worth it. You don't need. I mean, if you want a 100% or whatever,
yeah.
but yeah,
I successfully did the Chocobo race, but the lightning, nope, that didn't
yeah,
happen.
yeah. It's freaking brutal. But yeah. There's just so much that's great about Final Fantasy X. I love that you get to like control the summons. I always thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the all of the animations and everything, like it just sort of made all those summons feel like that much more powerful compared to like 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, in my head, the iconic summons for the series come out of 10.
Yeah.
Even though some of the summons and other ones were absolutely incredible, the iconic ones are 10.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Ifrit when he drops down, he throws the big
The meteor,
rock.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so sweet. And then Bahamut, just a
Well, I mean,
beast.
Shiva's diamond dust, that snap, like
Yep.
it's just
Oh, so
iconic.
sick.
Yeah.
It's so good. I will say the Cloister of Trials. Yeah, especially yeah, exactly. Exactly. Especially the Bahamut one is like, oh, that's my least favorite of.
Yeah,
That's
I straight out whipped out a guide for those. I'm like, nope, I had it right here on my other screen.
yeah,
Wasn't messing with that.
I don't blame you because they get real tedious. And there's tons. I've looked at guides before about it, and there's so many secrets that are inside each of those
Oh yeah.
cloisters. It's like there's no way I'd ever because you get the spheres and you have to go back and yeah. I've never 100%ed the cloisters because I just don't find it worth it. And I would also say that Final Fantasy X has some of the hardest boss battles in all of Final Fantasy.
I don't know. Tens admittedly, I haven't done all of the uber hards, the ones that they came out with on the remake. I
Mhm.
only ever played the original and recently played most of the remake, as I was saying. Um Tactically, I don't think they're as hard, but they do have health pools that are absurd.
Yeah.
That was like what was that one? Was it 15 or was it 12? I think it was 12. There was the final summon that you could get, and their thing was they just become immune to all damage for like 2 minutes, and you just have to survive them wailing on you. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's
that,
not
that must
that's not like difficulty. That's just a MacGuffin way out for the
yeah.
boss.
Well, 15 has well, I guess in 10, some of the boss battles I'm thinking of is like a lot of the Seymour battles can be brutal because he just comes in and like one shots you, especially the one
Yeah.
on the mountain where you're by like the Ronso mountain. That's like I think considered typically like one of the hardest Final Fantasy battles. But in 15, the end, like the sort of secret boss is like this giant turtle, and it has like
I know which one you're talking about. The one with like literally 10 million health.
yeah, you literally it took an hour because I did
Yeah.
because I got it on PlayStation 4 right right once it came out, and then I spent like my entire I was back in college at the time, so on my Christmas break I like just was like blitzing through that game, and I remember it literally took me like 2 hours of just wailing. Like he didn't damage me enough to kill me, but
Yep.
you just have to sit there and go and then do it. It's like it's a battle I'd never want to do ever again. Like I'm glad I did that. So all right, okay. Well, so then you also did 12. I remember
Hmm.
you did Final Fantasy 12. So what are your kind of thoughts on Final Fantasy 12?
I gotta remember which one was 12.
12 is the one with Van.
Oh, and the judges.
Yeah, and its play style is a little bit more kind of MMO like battle system.
Yeah. I ended up really enjoying that because of its hybrid battle system where you actually did more than just pick options in a menu. I thought the story was paper thin.
Yeah.
The story was paper thin. The protagonist actually didn't need to exist. It was like that argument in Big Bang Theory. If they weren't there, the exact same things would happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but the gameplay on it was fantastic. The visuals, the art style, I loved. Um, I really liked a lot about the game. Just I feel like an RPG, the story needs to be top tier, and I do feel like that particular story was paper thin. Now, the ending was really really cool. I enjoyed the heck out of that ending.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And the thing I like about 12 is that it's part of there's like they call it the Ivalice
mhm.
Alliance or whatever. I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's that. I know Vagrant Story, the PlayStation 1 Vagrant Story is in a part of that. Well, I think Final Fantasy 4 is also
Tactics, Final
Tactics
Fantasy
as well.
Tactics,
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
That's one of my top 3 Final Fantasies is
Oh,
Tactics.
okay. Yeah. You played Tactics too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever get Cloud in Tactics?
Yeah, that's one of the few games I've gotten close to 100%ing. That's a lot of hours in that game.
Yeah. Have you played the PSP version of it?
I have not. I've only ever played the PS1.
The PS1. Oh yeah, the PSP version. It one adds some cool like cutscenes, and then it also like drastically increases your accuracy, so you're like not missing
Oh,
like every yeah it's yeah it's
that'd be cool.
if you're ever gonna play that game again, you should. I highly recommend emulating or whatever, doing the PSP version, because it's called Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, I believe
Okay.
is what it's called. But yeah, it's so much better. Plus, it's slightly higher resolution and a little more widescreen and stuff like that. So it's got that going for it too. But yeah, Tactics is absolutely phenomenal. Okay, we'll talk a little about Final Fantasy 15.
15. Which one was 15? 15.
15 is the one. 15 is where it's like the open world one where you're driving. It's like the road trip.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Bro Road Trip. Oh, that one was cool. I went into it with honestly rather low expectations because I'd played it a little bit in the past and I didn't get very far and I'm just like I'm not feeling this as a Final Fantasy game, but I gave it an honest shot this time. And the game really really started to grow on me. The characters really started to grow on me. I ended up liking them a lot. Uh Not for spoilers, but I liked the
You can go spoilers. You can go full
the
spoilers. Yeah.
traditional tragic ending of
Yeah.
the main character not making it out. I really enjoy stories like that. It sounds kind of pessimistic, but the good guy doesn't always win.
Yeah.
I mean, he won, but he didn't win at the same time. I
Yeah.
really like using that as a storytelling element in pop culture in general. Um, the gameplay was awesome. I really enjoyed the ability to, run around and slash, making it more Dynasty Warriors esque as far as the combat. Uh, I liked how they didn't change, like in a lot of modern games now, they'll change the difficulty level of the area around you. They don't do that in that. You run into the wrong area, you get your
Yeah. Oh
teeth
yeah.
kicked down your throat. Um, but it was cool to see the characters evolve, like genuinely evolve the way they did. I feel like the writing on it was a lot better. Um, the ending of that game started to bring it together because one of my big complaints was holes in the story. Now, I was told by a lot of people in my chat that there were supplemental things. There was a book you could read, there was a video on Netflix you could watch. I never got around to those, but I do remember the ending really bringing it together from what bit of the story that I found I liked.
Yeah. I agree with you. And that was I do feel like the story missed a little bit. Like I think holes is sort of the perfect
Hmm.
way to describe it, because it it does feel like it's like there's blocks where it's really good, and then blocks where you're
Hmm.
like, hold on, what is going on here?
Yeah, like why am
Yeah,
I
I mean,
here?
it's yeah, you're just missing it. And if you play the Royal Edition, they did, they expanded upon it on it quite a bit. But yeah, I remember I went into, I forget which dungeon it is, but it's sort of actually kind of like right in your starting area, and you go down to these sewers and you fight this big snake.
Mm.
And I remember I stumbled on that snake at a very low level and I got absolutely destroyed.
Something very similar happened to me. I was just like, "Ooh, what's this little mine?" And I went down into the mine
Oh
and my
yeah.
chat started lighting up and I had no idea why. And I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. There's bad guys and I'm fighting them and they're all dying." I'm like, "Oh, this ain't so bad." And then there's a big old dude standing on a track with a big old samurai sword. It felt like seeing Pyramid Head in Silent Hill for the first time. I'm like, "This ain't gonna end well."
Yeah, yeah,
Spoilers,
and
it did not end well.
yeah, yeah, because 15, it might be my favorite Final Fantasy just because I do really like open world action
It was good
adventure,
for that, yeah.
exploration games, and it just really kind of grew on me. And I just absolutely fell in love, like you said, with the characters, Ignis and Prompto, and yeah, I loved that sort of like road trip vibe, and you could like in the upgrading your car. I thought a lot of the mini games were fun, like the chocobo racing, and I liked
Mhm.
the little town you went to, Hammerhead, right? Where you've got like the mechanic and you go to the little diner, and it was kind of really cool driving around, like getting to see this like big, huge open world because Final Fantasy had never been anything like that.
Yeah, that's the openest it's been.
Yeah, and nothing like that because I played because 13. I played 13 when it came out, and I was like very immediately like I do not like this. Just did could not get. I have since played 13. I have not played like the sequels, this 13 2 or 3, which I've heard are much better. But when I first played 13, I was like, it was the story. I found the story to be incredibly confusing, and like the auto battle system, and you're literally just like going down corridors, and it was way too linear for me.
I
Yeah, have
played a
you?
bit of 13,
Yeah,
but I played it when it very first came out, so my memories on it are super fuzzy. I remember your lightning, I remember she's essentially Chick Cloud, and that's really all I
pretty much it.
remember.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's pretty much it. That is very much the game. Okay. All right. So let's move on. I want to talk to you a little bit about Warcraft because that's what you're playing now. And it's very obvious you have been a Warcraft player for a very, very long time. So I'm assuming, are you like an OG
Yeah,
original?
I started playing World of Warcraft in the beta of the original game.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I've been playing
Wow.
that game a little over 20 years.
That's awesome. Because and I've talked to you about this a little bit in stream. I jumped into it in Pandaria was when I kind of jumped in. I had some coworkers and they were like hardcore into it. And this is what because I after I graduated high school, I went and got a job, did some stuff. So a couple years later, I went back to school. And so I was like working in a kitchen, just like a couple nights a week or whatever. And so my buddies there, they're always trying to get me into stuff because it was like I worked in like this tiny little town. It's like a college town. So in the summer, there's like, I mean, nobody there. It's like you'd get maybe like 3 orders a day, or something. I mean, there's like nobody there. And so we sit around. They got me into Magic the Gathering. It was kind of the first time I'd ever kind of gotten into that, and really actually kind of liked Magic. But then they all played Warcraft, and it's like, all right, fine, I'll check it out. And one of the reasons I jumped into it was because it's on Mac, and I had my MacBook Air, my 2012 MacBook Air, and you could play it at like Mac settings because at that time it was not incredibly demanding. And I can totally see why people are still like you are still into this game today.
Yeah, it's something I kind of grew up with. So I actually started playing Blizzard games with Warcraft 1 Orcs and Humans. And I loved the RTS thing. I loved the little world they'd set up for that. And then they moved on to, you know, Tides of Darkness with 2. Absolutely loved that. They introduced ships, they started to introduce actual story into the game. And then of course Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne. That one
Yeah,
absolutely iconic storyline. And it's really what tipped off Blizzard as a company be like, hey, we can do something bigger.
yeah,
So they start making this essentially EverQuest copycat with their own IP. And I heard about it. And of course, I'm sending them emails trying to get into that beta because I already absolutely love the world. And then the game came out, World of Warcraft. It came out. it was like nothing I had ever seen as a gamer up to that point. I'd never played an MMO up to that point. I never got into EverQuest, nothing like that. Um, and you get into this world and you take over a character, and the world goes on around you with or without you, which was really weird to me as a gamer, because at that point, your character's the center of every world. But not so much in that one, especially considering there were other players. And back in those days, they had different kinds of servers, PvP, PvE, and I played on a PvP server, not knowing what was going on. So it was, nonstop action at a certain point. I don't know. The game really hooked me. It made me fall in love with these characters from this series, with these factions, with the locales that you saw in the previous Warcraft games. You got to see them like in real life in person, as opposed to like a third down view. Just all of those things combined made me absolutely love the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because at the time, the only other thing I'd ever seen like it was EverQuest, and I had an uncle who was like hardcore into it, and everybody I knew who was like my brother, he's a little bit older than me, and my uncle, he's actually he's like a super young, he's like a younger uncle for me, and they were like both hardcore into EverQuest, and then when WoW came, I never heard him talk about it again. Which was kind of like the oh yeah thing. Now, did you yourself, or do you know anybody that like suffered of like remember when it first came out and there was like legit addiction?
Yes. So I now know why certain things in my life happened to me around that time. I didn't then, though. And yes, there were more than a couple days where I was sick and stayed home and played WoW.
Yeah,
Granted, it didn't come out until like 2004, 2005, so I was a junior or senior in high school at that time.
yeah,
So, I mean, that ship had already sailed by that time, but
yeah. So okay, yeah. So so we must be about the same age because I graduated in '06 high school,
yeah, I'm
and
38 or something like that, I think.
yeah, I know. I lost count too. Yep, totally. Like, yeah. So in summer or in fall of '06, I went to college, and me and like 5 buddies rented a house. And I remember my buddy, my buddy Drew. We had like this huge house, and there's like 5. Might have been more. It was 7 of us. Yeah. And anyway, so we're in this like all house. We're going to Ohio State, and we I remember some people had like their computer set up in like the living room and stuff like that, because that way we could do work or whatever, do work. And I remember my roommate Drew, like he went to class one day. Like day one, he went to class, and then he started playing WoW, and he literally never went again. Like never went to
I
class
could see it. I
again.
could see it.
Every time you get up, he's just out there, like, no shirt, like on his computer chair, like hardcore playing WoW, like hardcore.
I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I've seen people who, maybe ruin some opportunities they shouldn't have ruined to play said game. But then again, I've also known people who have gotten married from meeting in the game.
Yeah.
So like I've seen both spectrums on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I never had a WoW addiction. I did have a Destiny addiction. It was yeah. Destiny 1. Destiny 2 did not do it for me. I just
I
couldn't.
I rated in Destiny 1 and never played Destiny 2.
Yeah, I loved Destiny 1. Destiny 1, yeah. I actually this is another reason I kind of like your channel. Because you talked about your surgery and talked about losing weight and stuff like that. And I was really heavy when Destiny 1 came out. And I remember that summer I just like I found a group of guys like on a group chat, and I just literally got up, I went to the gym, I came home from the gym because I was off school, and I just worked a couple days a week, and I was just like I made it my routine, and then I would like play and I played Destiny for like 10 hours, and I ended up losing like 30 pounds. So
Nice.
it's just like it's like a Destiny addiction somehow, like caused me, because the guys I was playing with are in England, so I was on East Coast time at the time, so they were like 5 hours ahead. So when they stopped, like, all right, well, I guess I'll just go to the gym, and then I went to the gym and just came home. That's
One
what life could be like if we didn't unfortunately have jobs.
One thing I really liked about Destiny was they put hidden things into the game that they didn't tell anybody about. It was just one day somebody discovered it, and then the entire community
Oh
just
yeah.
like went crazy, like Black Spindle and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. It was so sweet. What was your Destiny? What was your Destiny character?
I ended up ending with a hunter, the one that shot the bow. I don't
Yep.
remember
Night
the class
Stalker.
name. Yeah, Night Stalker.
Yeah.
I loved it because my buddy played a warlock, so we would tag team things. I'd hit him with that arrow and group up the whole
Yeah.
thing. He'd throw
Yeah.
the grenade and just poof, dead.
Yeah. Same thing. I played Hunter, and my buddy played a wizard, or what is it? Warlock.
Warlock.
Warlock, yeah, is what it's called in the game. Yeah, yeah. And so we would do trials, but we never had a good third. We'd always get these random people, and it would always just be terrible. And we just be like, oh my god! It's like every Friday night we would kind of just hop on and play trials and stuff. But all right, yeah, okay. Back to WoW real quick. Yeah. So then, well, that's sweet. Yeah, because you were right there at the beginning. So yeah, so when I got in, I jumped into Mista Pandaria knowing really nothing about it except that I wanted to play Horde because my buddies all played Horde and they were like joked at playing Alliance. And I was like, okay. So it's like, all right. And so I made a Blood Elf Warrior, and it was kind of cool because I was going through stuff like on my own, and so like I didn't really do like power leveling because I was like, I kind of want to experience the game. So I did a lot of the early quests,
Nice.
you know, and stuff like that. I remember like, you know, one of the first quests you do is like outside of Silvermoon City is there's like corrupted mana cores. And I
Yep.
remember I would like, because I'd see them at work, and so I'd go to work and they're always talking about, you know, I don't know, how much ghost iron did you mine the other day? And it's like, all right, I don't, you know, and so all these high level stuff. And I'm like, you know what, guys, that's fine. You guys can go off over there and you can raid dungeons and stuff like that. But the people of Silvermoon City, there's corrupted mana cores out there and they need help. All right. And so I'd always like go in and joke about like the low level quests and stuff like that. But yeah, then as the more I played, I really began to understand what people like really like and appreciate about this game, especially because I did not realize there was so much humor in it.
Oh man, there's a ton.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite quest that I played was, and I tried to look it up at work, but I was a little busy, so I didn't get to it today. But it's the Deathwing quest where the guys are telling the story about Deathwing, and there's like three guys, and they're each talking about it, and the one guy's like, "Well, I punched Deathwing in the face."
Yeah.
And then there's another guy talking. He's like, I grew up to a giant and threw Deathwing. And there's another guy talking about it, like his motorcycle. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then my motorcycle could fly. And, you know, they're like telling that story about Deathwing. And that was hilarious.
They also have a lot of like hidden throwback jokes in there. Like, for instance, if you make a new orc, it started you in the Valley of Trials. And one of the quests was you had to go around and get these other peons to start working. Well, a throwback to Warcraft, if you kept clicking on them, they would have hidden voice lines. And it's the same in World of Warcraft, just little Easter eggs like that. And little tributes too. Like out in the game, there is a blue genie as a tribute to Robin Williams.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's tons of that type of stuff out in there. And I remember one of the characters I found that really like brought back my childhood was, I think he's called Jake Badlands, or he's a character named Jake, and he's in like a Badlands. But anyway, it's a throwback to one of Blizzard's earlier games, which is Rock and Roll Racing for the Super Nintendo. And they also had the Lost Vikings,
Yep.
and stuff like that. And they actually released a cool kind of expansion, or a cool collector, like a pack of that, like Blizzard Arcade, whatever, where they kind of did like a modern refresh of those games. And yeah, like Rock and Roll Racers is probably like, I can't even tell you the sheer amount of hours I pumped into that. So yeah, we were playing. Yeah, I was playing WoW there definitely for like sort of that summer, like the Mista Pandaria and stuff like that. And then I just kind of got busy with school, and so I never really jumped back into it. But yeah, I mean, I just watching it, and I have some friends that I work with now that play it pretty hardcore. So I'm always asking them, like, you know, what's the expansion you're playing, and stuff like that. And I mean, it seems like WoW after Mist maybe had like a dip.
It
Kind
did
of a
very
dip,
much so.
and then now it seems like it's been coming back up. Do you think that's like because Microsoft, or do you think it's just good?
The game ended up losing its main creative lead, a guy named Mike Metzen, right after, I think it was either right after Panda or right after Cataclysm. And then they put out what is widely considered to be, from the community, some of the worst expansions. Warlords of Draenor
Draenor,
and
yeah.
Shadowlands are probably considered the two worst expansions in the game. And those really drove a lot of people away, myself included. I maybe leveled one character to max, and then I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I don't really like it. And then, Dragonflight came out and they really upped their storytelling because as much as the end game is a huge part of it, so is the story. Um, and they really upped the character design. They brought back characters that people loved. They really started to make the end game really solid again. They added new elements that felt like they needed to be there, as opposed to we're just here, we're trying to give you something new. And then the War Within came in, and they are talking about making it a 3 expansion series all on the same exact story with giant overreaching issues that affect characters that have been in the game 20 plus years. And they flushed out a few different systems. They made it more friendly if you were a solo player in the World of Warcraft. They made it more friendly if you're a group player. They they essentially started listening to Metzen again, and it is, in my opinion, one of my top 3 expansions.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Would you from what I have heard, it just seems like the online community, it seems like Warlords of Draenor is what people consider to be the worst expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had some great ideas in Warlords of Draenor. They brought in some of the characters that I knew from old school Warcraft days, but they just, I don't know, they mishandled it somehow. They forced a system, this garrison system, which on the surface sounds really, really cool until you absolutely have to do it until you can't progress without it. They did some retcons on the lore with it, which were kind of sketchy. I don't feel like the raids were super in depth, although admittedly I never did them because I had lost interest by that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think is the best expansion?
So the answer the community would give you is Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah.
It was a very, very solid expansion. I have my own gripes with it just from being an old school player. But intellectually, it would probably be Wrath of the Lich King.
I guess what's your favorite? Yeah.
My personal favorite, Legion. Hands
Legion.
down, Legion
Yeah.
is my personal favorite. The lore they went into in that game, I don't think I even rated in that game. I loved the lore of every character so much because you would get these items of legend. Like the one that really made me go, holy crap, was you get Thrall's Doomhammer
Yeah.
as a shaman, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And just that feeling of this is amazing because now we're interacting with these absolute legendary pieces.
Yeah. So for you, it seems like you're really in it, a lot of these things for the narrative.
I love the narrative, but like right now, I'm currently leading a progression rating guild.
Yeah, I
So
know. Yeah, every time I log in on TikTok and your stream comes up, because you stream, what is your set time, by the way, so people can hear that on TikTok?
I stream Monday through Saturday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. ish.
Yeah.
Pacific Standard Time. The reason I say ish is because Friday and Saturday I'll stay on until I get tired.
Yeah, because I've definitely seen you on there later and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and your rating and stuff like that. And I think that, it's just one of the cool things about WoW that I've always appreciated is some of the guys like I played with, my buddies from work and stuff like that. One of them was like just like he was a mount collector, like hard. That's like all he cared about was getting all of the mounts and stuff like that. And he would always, like, we had another guy who played like competitively, like hardcore competitively, like solo 1v1, like the whole PvP, the whole deal. And then my buddy Justin, the mount collector, would always, and Nick was the guy's name. And so every time Nick would come into work, whatever, he'd be talking about it. My buddy Justin, but yeah, but how many mounts do you have? It's like I don't care about this. So that's just one of the things I've always appreciated about Warcraft. Sort of from afar, is just how much content is there and that it's still been able to go on. And so, okay. And have you played any other MMOs? Did you try Star Wars or
Wow.
what
What
is it
was
called?
that one that came out
The Old
relatively
Republic?
recently? Was it the Old Republic? I think it was the Old Republic. I played that for a little bit. It was neat. It didn't hold me. I'm not a diehard Star Wars fan
Right.
though either, so that
Yeah.
probably didn't help it. I also played a little bit of RuneScape, not enough to really go
Yeah.
crazy on, but otherwise, no. Oh yeah, I did play one other one. It's long gone in the dirt and dust, called Tabula Rasa. There's probably like 8 people in existence who remember that game.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool because it was the first MMO with a shooter MMO that I'd ever heard about.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it definitely did not go the distance.
No Elder Scrolls or Final Fantasy.
Not in MMOs. I played all the Elder Scrolls that weren't MMOs.
Yeah.
I think
But
I tried Age of Conan for about 20 minutes.
yeah. Yeah, I would love to get into MMO, but right now I have a 7-month-old baby, so it's makes it a little little difficult
We've
for me.
Oh, yeah. So there's pictures here at the house of me sitting at my desk like this with my daughter right here playing World of Warcraft.
Let's go.
Yeah, so even when she was a tiny baby, she would just lay on my chest and I'd play WoW around her.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool, man. Awesome. As we're kind of closing up shop here, as we're getting close to an hour. What do you have? What do you have planned next for the stream? You gonna keep doing Warcraft? Do you have some other stuff you want to check out? You know, as we
I'm
that's gonna be coming up
definitely
soon.
continuing on the World of Warcraft train. It's where the dopamine is taking me right now, so that's where I'm playing. I'm thinking about maybe trying to start reading a novel on stream, just like sitting there reading it. A lot of people have said that they would be interested in that, especially like right now I'm playing World of Warcraft, so I'd read World of Warcraft novels. Um, I don't know, it's just a thought. I'm kind of toying around with it, seeing what people want to see and what they'd be willing to stick around for.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, dude, I also want to give you a shout out and just say, like, congrats on the weight loss. I know you've made sort of that part of your channel. That is not an easy thing to do. And so if nobody else tells you, like, congratulations on like the hard, brutal work that takes, like you've earned it. Congratulations,
No, I
man. Because
appreciate that. Thank you.
that is it's not an easy thing to do. So, so just keep the gains train rolling, man.
Yeah, 92 pounds so far.
Yeah, dude, congratulations. You're about to hit that century mark. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Cool. Well, where can people find you on the internet?
So I am on TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube, all under the handle VaraxisGaming, all one word.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Take some time out of your day to come on here and talk some games. Yeah, appreciate it. And like I said, man, love the content. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, as always, I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for listening. You can find me anywhere on the internet at Super Gains Bros. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.